Good evening, everyone. Want to look at this will be part 3 of the series on understanding sacrifices and altars all through Scripture. We see the examples of making sacrifices to Yahuwah, and there's so much dogma about what is sacrifices and altars, and people looking to the third temple and the animal sacrifices that will be made again. And even from the very beginning, the sacrifices is showing how to offer yourself to Yahuwah. It was never about killing animals and offering them to Yahuwah. How can you can't do any work in the flesh that benefits Yahuwah. Okay, the only thing we can do in this world that is good for me to Yahuwah is to reverence Him, to praise Him, to worship Him. And part of that is how I live in harmony, peace with my fellow man. So when I say harmony, I don't mean that I just do like they do, but live peaceably. And so living peaceably, when I have peace with Yahuwah, it allows, He makes the way for me to have peace with my neighbors. I don't have any argument or contention with them. If they don't believe the word of truth, that's not an issue with me. Okay, when I have the opportunity to speak with a neighbor, a man on the street, wherever, I just share the word of truth. If he agrees, great. If he doesn't, that's not my problem. I don't back down to what other people believe. We're supposed to study to show ourselves approved. So when Yahuwah gives us revelation, through study, through prayer, through petition, okay, we go to the altar and petition Yahuwah for guidance, for favor. We have examples. It says Noah found favor in the sight of Yahuwah. Abraham found favor in the sight of Yahuwah. Moses found favor in the sight of Yahuwah. So they went and asked for favor. And we have the example even with Abraham. He says, if I have now found favor with you, please remain here, tarry here, have a meal with me. Yeshua said that if I knock and any man opens, I'll come in and sup with him. So we have these pictures, and we need to understand that when he knocks, that if we open, okay, what is there? Can I open a door? I open my heart. He stands at the door and knocks. And if I open, he will come in and sup with me. So then can I hear his voice? There is a place where we can hear an audible voice, but usually it's not like that. It's usually something inside us. He speaks to us very softly. He persuades us. It's a spiritual persuasion. So anyway, back to the topic of the altars. We need to learn to sacrifice ourselves, our reasonable service to Yahuwah. So we'll just start reading this here. Psalms 50:18. When you see a thief, you befriend him and throw in your lot with adulterers. Okay, so this is the way of the flesh. We don't want to offend people in the flesh, and we're quickly caught up in what they're doing and following them into whatever kind of folly. So we have to strengthen ourselves and stand firm in the things we believe and not partake with sinners in their way. Those who forsake the law praise the wicked, but those who keep the law resist them. Hosea 7:3, they delight the king with their evil and the princes with their lies. So that's the way of the world. They will do evil things and try to entreat and to have good favor with the powers of this world. So they delight the king with their evil and the princes with their lies. Anything that isn't pertaining to the truth is lie. So you are witnesses consenting to the deeds of your fathers. They killed the prophets, and you build their tombs. So if I'm a witness to my fathers that killed the prophets, okay, to the deeds of my fathers that killed the prophets, well, I don't want to be a part of that. And you build their tombs. So if I'm where the Pharisees were in the time of Luke here, where Messiah was speaking to them, the tombs is their resting place, their memorials. So if my fathers were the ones killing the prophets and I build their tombs and I'm giving them a place to rest, and I can go back and I can look on the memory, which is what sepulcher means, or a tombstone. Why do you put a tombstone on a grave? It's so you can remember. It's a place of reflecting back. So they go back on their memories of their fathers killing the prophets. Acts 8:1, and Paul, was there giving a proving to Stephen's death on that on the day that great persecution broke out against the church in Jerusalem, and all except the apostles were scattered throughout Judea and Samaria. So the apostles were those that were taught in the word. Judea, Judaism, Samaria is the Gentiles. So those that weren't taught, discipled in the word, apostles being taught by the Messiah, were scattered out through Judaism and through the world. When the blood of your witness Stephen was shed, I stood there giving my approval and watching over the garments of those who killed them. So Paul's confessing that he was there, allowing and partaking to giving approval to what was going on. What fruit did you reap at that time from the things which you are now ashamed? The outcome of those things is death. So he's reflecting on those things from the old man. He was partaker of them. The outcome of sin is death. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of Yahuwah is eternal life in Messiah Yahushua, our master. So we can only serve one master. 2 Thessalonians 2:12, in order that judgment may come upon all who have disbelieved the truth and delighted in wickedness. So the judgment's going to come. We don't have any control over that. So we have a choice to get away from the wickedness and the disbelief, come to the truth, and walk in righteousness. So Leviticus 1:3, if his offering be a burnt offering, burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer it. A male without blemish, he shall offer it of his own voluntary will at the altar that is the door of the tabernacle, of the congregation of Yahuwah, before Yahuwah. Okay, so we look back at I think it's Leviticus 23, where it's talking about the morning and evening sacrifice. Yahuwah says that this is a continual sacrifice throughout your generations, and he will meet with the children of Israel there, and he will sanctify the tabernacle and the altar, and he will be sanctified by his glory. So when we go to the altar, that is the place where we meet him, and he will speak to us. And I'm not going to go into testimonies of that, but there's many people that when they put their face to the ground, they will testify that what they petitioned to Yahuwah, Yahuwah has answered them over and over and over. So it's not necessarily about being in that position, but it is about the humility. So how do I demonstrate humility? I can put my face to the ground. I'm not ashamed of that. So I want to address blood here and the pouring out, because world religions have got us so far from truth on this issue that it's quite shameful. So this word poured out is the same word as shed, as where it is used in blood shed. Okay, so poured out is the same as blood shed. So Hannah, the woman of sorrowful spirit, now we're seeing the picture of Messiah saying, my spirit, my soul is weary unto death. So she's got a sorrowful spirit. So she had went to the temple and prayed to Yahuwah. She was praying silently, but her lips were moving. Eli accused her of being a drunken woman. And Hannah answered and said, no, my master, I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but I have poured out my soul before Yahuwah. Count not thy handmaid for a daughter of Belial, for out of the abundance of my complaint and my grief have I spoken hitherto. Then Eli answered and said, go in peace, and the Elohim of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast. 1 Samuel 7:6, when they had gathered at Mizpah, they drew water and poured it out before Yahuwah. So there's that same word, same Strong's number, poured out. They drew water and poured it out before Yahuwah. On that day they fasted, and there they confessed, we have sinned against Yahuwah. And Samuel judged the Israelites at Mizpah. Job 30:16. And now my soul is poured out with me. Days of affliction grip me. Psalms 42. These things come to mind as I pour out my soul, how I walk with the multitude, leading the procession to the house of Yahuwah with shouts of joy and praise. Psalm 62:8. Trust in him at all times, O people. Pour out your hearts before him. Yahuwah is our refuge. Selah. Lamentations 2:19. Arise, cry out in the night from the first watch of our night. Pour out your heart like water in the presence of Yahuwah. Lift up your hands to him for the lives of your children who are fainting from hunger on the corner of every street. Look at the picture of that right there on the corner of every street. There, for your children who are fainting from hunger on the corner of every street, where are they being fed? There's a church on every corner. Your children are going into these churches and being fed garbage. And we will get to garbage here in a little bit. Matthew 18:16. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. So when somebody doesn't want to hear us, we need to take scriptural witnesses to them to establish a matter. I don't need to take 2 or 3 brothers with me necessarily. I need to take scriptural witnesses. That way I'm not going to them and accusing them. I'm going to them with a gift of salvation to deliver them from their sin. Whoso letteth any or killeth any person, the murderer shall be put to death by the mouth of witnesses. But one witness shall not testify against any person to cause him to die. Matthew 26:36. Then cometh Yahushua with them unto a place called Gethsemane, a winepress, shaman, to shine, Gethshaman. And saith to his disciples, sit ye here. And that phrase, sit ye here, he was telling them, you go into the concordance and look up them words in that passage, he's telling them to stay in that mental, spiritual state there while I go and pray yonder. So when he comes back and says to them, can ye not pray with me 1 hour? Watch, so you enter not into temptation. So I don't know if they were talking about the sports games or what, but they weren't in the frame of mind. They were sleeping, it says in the scripture, but what state of sleep were they in? Because you wouldn't come back and just start speaking to someone. You might kick them first and say, hey, silly, wake up. But he didn't do that. He was speaking to them, so they were not paying attention. He took with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. So there's the evidence that he took witnesses with him, and we have them witnesses to establish our truth. So now I want to go into the dedication of the temple in the days of Solomon, because what I've tried to demonstrate in these first 2 parts of this sacrifices and altars is that it was it's the sacrifice of self that we're trying to understand, and trying to demonstrate that they were not sacrificing animals to Yahuwah even back in the Old Testament. And when we get through this next little segment here, I think you're going to either be persuaded or you're going to have a whole lot of questions. So, then the king and all the people offered sacrifices unto Yahuwah. King Solomon offered a sacrifice of 22,000 oxen and 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the people dedicated the house of Yahuwah. Okay, the king and all the people dedicated the house of Yahuwah. So if we go back into, I think it's 1 Kings, maybe 1 Chronicles, when Nehemiah had went back to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. And they found the book of the law, the scrolls, there in the temple, and they brought it out. And I think Ezra read the scrolls and caused the people to understand. And all the people fell on their faces and worshipped Yahuwah. So again, we have that picture of all the people falling on their faces to worship Yahuwah. So we're going to get into a bloody, gruesome place in Jerusalem here. And what we're going to see is not even practical or realistic if we consider it with an honest heart. So I've done a breakdown on the animals that were slaughtered at Jerusalem at the dedication of the temple. Okay, a yearling lamb weighs approximately 90 pounds, and you can Google all this stuff look this up for yourself. This is where I got my research for this presentation. So a yearling lamb is 90 pounds. 56 pounds of that is waste. 34 pounds is the flesh meat that we would have for food. Okay, so 120,000 sheep, or 122,000 sheep times 56 pounds is 6,720,000 pounds of waste. 34 pounds of meat times 120,000 is 4,080,000 pounds. Okay, and that's just the lambs. So a yearling bull, between 700 and 1,200 pounds. So just for simple math, I just calculated the weight for the yearling bull at 1,000 pounds. You get 675 pounds of waste, 325 pounds of meat. So 675 pounds of waste times 22,000 is 14,850,000 pounds of waste. 325 pounds of meat times 22,000 is 7,150,000 pounds of beef. So the combined, the waste of 672,000 or 6,720,000 plus 14,850,000 is 21,570,000 pounds. Okay, and the meat is 4,080,000 pounds plus 7,150,000 pounds. It's 11,230,000 pounds. So if everybody there, that combined weight, by the way, would be, oh, okay, that is combined, sorry. That 21 million pounds right there, that is a full train load. I don't mean a car load, I mean a train load. 100 car train load of waste. Now, somebody's going to have to come up with a whole lot of explanation of how this waste was dealt with at the dedication of the temple in what is claimed to be the most holy city in all the world, Jerusalem, back in the time of the dedication of this temple. Okay, there's some reality issues that really have to be addressed. Now, if we deal with the waste in terms with modern equipment, a modern semi can legally haul 50,000 pounds. So you take the 21,570,000 pounds divided by 50,000, that's 431.4 semi loads of waste. Okay, to haul the meat, 11,230,000 pounds divided by 50,000, 224 semi loads of meat. Okay, to load all this waste, it would take about 30 minutes per load. Since you don't have to be careful with it, you're looking at about 215 hours to load the waste. And then we're forgetting about the blood. So this is the bulls only. I could not find a web page that showed how much blood was in a sheep, but a 1,000-pound bull has approximately 48 quarts of blood, 12 gallons, times 28,000, or times 22,000, 8,000 gallons per load. You'd get 33 semi-loads of blood alone. Okay, the animals, if they were packed together, shoulder to shoulder, nose to tail, they would cover 45.5 acres with no space between them. Realistically, for today's means, it would take approximately 33 semi-loads at 45 minutes loading with a 4-inch hose, take 24 and 3/4 hours to be rid of the blood alone with modern day equipment. And we're being told this all took place 2,500 years ago in ancient Israel. Something to think about. Okay, so here's my understanding of this. So does it make sense that 22,000 strong, faithful men, okay, learned in the Word, and 120,000 believers, the young sheep, on their knees, making their personal sacrifice to Yahuwah, their altar, their sacrifice? So here's a little fun fact. Okay, the brazen laver or brazen sea that was in the temple courtyard held 2,000 baths of water. The bath was the volume of water for the priest to do his ritual washing. So we have 2,000 baths representing 2,000 priests, 122,000 sheep, 22,000 bulls, comes to 144,000. I think that's quite interesting. So I want to address the 2,000 priests a little bit. I said the volume of water that was in the brazen sea was 2,000 baths. Now, if we go back to the counting of the omer, start doing word searches on omer, and an omer is 1/10 of an ephah, and an ephah is equal to a bath. So an omer was the amount of manna gathered daily by the people. Okay, Exodus 16, when the manna fell on the 16th day of the second month, they were to gather an omer of manna daily. Okay, so an omer is 1/10 of an ephah, and an ephah is equal to a bath. Well, when we look at that word omer, okay, it says that he that gathered much had none left over. He that gathered little lacked nothing. So an omer isn't something that you can put in a specific measurement. It's your measurement. How much manna can you prepare in a day and have prepared to present to feed to the people on Shabbat, okay, or at the festival. Okay, 3 times in a year we're to gather before Yahuwah and don't appear before me empty-handed, says Yahuwah. So what's in my hand? I have His Word, I have studies, I have what I've prepared, and I bring that to the people and I share that. So peace be with you in the Ruach HaKodesh and in Messiah. May we always continue in the way, the truth, and the life. Be strong of faith. This is going to be hard for people to hear, but we will keep you always in our prayers and continue to dig and root out what is Yahweh's glory. Leviticus 17:11, for the life of the flesh is in the blood. I have given it to you upon the altar to make atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that makes atonement for the soul. So again, the blood is that outpouring. Got just a couple pages sitting here at 29 minutes. We'll make this pretty quick. Matthew 16:21. From that time forth began Yahushua to show unto his disciples how that he must go into Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and the chief priests and scribes, and be killed and raised again on the 3rd day. Then Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, Be it far from thee, Master, this shall not be unto thee. He turned unto Peter, Get thee behind me, Satan, thou art an offense unto me, For thou savorest not the things that be of Yahuwah, but those that be of men. So take up your cross and follow Yahushua. Then said Yahushua unto his disciples, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Okay? Let him deny himself. The definition of crucify is to subdue selfness. So if any man will come after me, crucify himself, take up his cross. So cross means to be exposed to death, figuratively, exposure to death. So when we subdue our selfness, that is exposing ourselves to death spiritually. So we die to the carnal man and live in the spiritual man, and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what is man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with the angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works. Verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. So, what does that mean? Is there some standing there that would grasp this whole concept? They would see the concept, the necessity of dying to self before they actually went through that process. And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected of the elders and of the chief priests and scribes and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. He was taken from the prison house and from judgment. And who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For transgression of my people he was stricken. So transgression is sin. Okay, breaking the Torah is transgression of the law. For out of the prison he came forth to reign. Whereas also he that is born in his kingdom becometh poor. The Spirit of Yahuwah is upon me, because Yahuwah hath anointed me to preach the good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim the liberty to the captives, and opening of the prison to them that are bound. So, we'll get in the next session. We'll get into that being bound and in prison. Now it is up to me only to decide if I will be the altar and make atonement for my soul. Okay, meet him there at the altar. Or am I too proud in my flesh to make the sacrifice that Yahuwah has so clearly laid out for me? Israel was never supposed to perform animal sacrifices to atone for human sin. Come on, let us reason together. I know many will come back and say, Yahuwah finished it. We cannot do anything. James said, show me your faith without works. I will show you my faith by my works. Again, faith without works is dead. Why did Paul say to offer yourselves a living sacrifice, your reasonable service to Yahuwah? And I die daily. Imitate me even as I imitate Messiah. If we don't have any work to do, why should we even consider that we just go on in our carnality and not trying to die to self? Anyway, I will close there, and I'll get this published. And I look forward to anyone that has comments or questions about these things. I'm free to share. I'll go through the word studies with anyone. I'll share links to our Zoom meetings or send these documents out in email, which I'll put the email address in the comment section. Shalom, everyone, and be blessed in Yahuwah.